Have you been feeling that uneasy feeling in your chest lately? That strange feeling that something is changing inside you, but you can't explain exactly what it is. I know this feeling well, as if you were wearing clothes that no longer fit, even though they're the same as ever. It's like waking up in your own home and for a fleeting moment, not recognizing your surroundings. I know what it's like when you look at your routine and suddenly it seems different, even though nothing has changed externally. Those paths you used to walk with your eyes closed now seem to demand more attention. Conversations that once flowed easily now cause a certain inexplicable discomfort. The places you used to go no longer give you the same feeling of belonging they used to. Breakfast tastes the same, your work remains the same, the people around you are the same, but something about you is different. Sometimes you find yourself looking out of the window, lost in thoughts that you can't quite organize. Or perhaps you notice how time seems to behave strangely. Some moments drag on interminably while other whole days pass in the blink of an eye. Have you ever wondered why certain songs that never affected you now bring tears to your eyes? Or why some old memories come out of nowhere, like unexpected visitors knocking on your mind's door? They're little signs, like leaves that change color before autumn is even announced. Your inner being perceives the change of seasons before you can even name it. I understand that feeling of being between two worlds, no longer completely comfortable in the old, but not yet settled in the new. It's like standing on a bridge where every step resonates differently. You look back and see the familiar path you've traveled, you look forward and see only mist. This feeling of being suspended between the known and the unknown can be disconcerting. Perhaps you've noticed small changes in your interest too. Books that wouldn't have caught your attention before now seem to speak directly to you. Conversations that you would have avoided before now arouse your curiosity. Even your dreams may be different, more vivid, more meaningful, as if they're trying to show you something important that your conscious mind hasn't yet fully grasped. People close to you may not notice these changes in you. To them, you're still the same. Only you feel this inner restlessness, this subtle misalignment between who you were and who you are becoming. It's like a garment that still fits but no longer fits your body perfectly. You move around in it differently, more aware of its contours and limitations. I know how frustrating it is when you can't explain to others what you're feeling. How can you put into words something that is still taking shape? It's like trying to describe a melody you've only heard once in a distant dream. You know the melody exists, but you still can't reproduce it clearly so that others can hear it too. There are times when you feel completely alone on this journey, don't you? As if you were living an experience that no one else could understand. You smile at the same moments as always, take part in the same conversations, but part of you is observing all this from a slightly different place. It's like watching your own life through a new lens, seeing details that have always been there, but that you've never noticed before. These transitions are rarely smooth or predictable. They come in waves. Some days you feel perfectly normal, as if nothing is changing. On others, the feeling of displacement is so intense that you barely recognize your own thoughts. It's like those days when the sky can't decide whether it's going to rain or shine, and the light has a strange quality that makes everything seem slightly different. Know that this restlessness doesn't mean that something is wrong. In fact, it could be a sign that something is finally right. Like a seed that begins to stir in the earth before it sprouts, this discomfort often precedes growth. Nature teaches us that every transformation begins with a certain restlessness, a discontent with the current state that drives the necessary change. You're not losing yourself in this process. You're finding a truer version of who you've always been. Just as the caterpillar doesn't lose its essence as it transforms into a butterfly, you too keep your core as you expand beyond the limits you knew. The discomfort you feel is just the sound of the chrysalis breaking open, announcing that something new is about to emerge. Have you ever noticed how nature is never in a hurry? The river doesn't rush to reach the ocean. It simply follows its course, skirting obstacles, creating new paths when necessary. Its waters don't fight the stones, they transform them over time, smoothing out their edges. This period of transition you are experiencing has a lot to do with this natural wisdom of flowing with change, rather than resisting it. When a tree loses its leaves in autumn, it's not dying, it's preparing for a new cycle. During the winter, when it seems dormant and lifeless, vital processes continue to take place inside it, invisible to our eyes. So it is with you now. What seems like stagnation may be a profound internal reorganization. preparing the ground for what is to come. Sometimes silence and waiting are as important as action. Think about how we learned to walk as children. It didn't happen overnight, did it? First we crawled, then we stood on something, fell many times until one day we took our first steps on our own. This life transition you're experiencing follows a similar pattern. There are attempts, there are imbalances, there are moments of insecurity, but there are also advances that you may not yet have recognized. Dawn never comes suddenly. First comes that timid light that is barely distinguishable from the darkness. Then shades of blue begin to color the horizon, followed by nuances of pink and orange, until finally the sun appears in full. Major changes in life are rarely instantaneous events. They are gradual processes, with distinct phases that need to be respected and experienced in their own time. Have you ever observed a hot cup of coffee on a cold day? How smoke rises in spirals, never following a straight line. Human journeys are like that too. They rarely follow a straight path. They bend, turn a little, move in another direction. This feeling of being lost or without a clear direction is a natural part of the process of change. It's not a sign of failure, but rather that you're actually on the move. Imagine being in a house you've always lived in and suddenly realizing a room you've never noticed before. That room has always been there, but something in your perception has changed, allowing you to see it. Moments of transition are like that. They open doors to aspects of yourself that have always existed, but were dormant or unrecognized. The discomfort comes from the encounter with this unknown space, which is nonetheless deeply yours. When we face a significant change, we tend to fixate on what we're losing, don't we? We focus on the security that the familiar provided, on the routines that gave us structure. It's like constantly looking in the rearview mirror while driving forwards. But if we do this for too long, we lose sight of the road ahead and the new horizons that are beginning to emerge. The sense of vulnerability that accompanies periods of transition is similar to what we feel when we're in a foreign country for the first time. The customs are different, the language may be unfamiliar, even the air seems to smell different. However, it is precisely in this vulnerability that we open ourselves up to new experiences and discoveries about the world and ourselves. There is an old story about a man who complained about the weight he was carrying on his journey. When he finally had the courage to open the bag he was carrying, he discovered that he was carrying stones that he himself had put there, thinking that one day they might be useful. How many beliefs, habits, and expectations do you carry that no longer serve your current path? Sometimes the feeling of heaviness comes from what we insist on keeping, not from the path itself. The seasons don't negotiate with each other about when they should change. Summer doesn't beg autumn for a few more days. There is a natural acceptance of the cycle, a wisdom in recognizing the right moment for transformation. Your body and soul also have this wisdom, this intuitive knowledge of when it's time to change. The discomfort you feel may simply be the friction between this inner wisdom and your conscious mind that tries to keep everything as it was. Have you ever noticed how a glass of cloudy water clears up when you simply let it rest? The particles naturally settle to the bottom, without the need for filters or external interventions. In the same way, when we allow our agitated minds to rest, even for brief periods, we gain clarity about what really matters in this transitional phase. The answers you're looking for may emerge not from more analysis, but from moments of stillness. In ancient traditions, periods of transition were marked by rituals that helped people understand and integrate change. Today, we rarely have such milestones in our lives. We create an illusion of uninterrupted continuity, where one day flows into the next without pauses for reflection or recognition of important passages. Perhaps it's time to create your own rituals, small moments of awareness that honor the chapter that is closing and welcome what is to come. What you've been calling confusion can actually be the beginning of clarity. It's like when you rummage through an old trunk you've kept for years. At first everything seems like a big mess, objects scattered around with no apparent meaning. But it's precisely in this rummaging that we find forgotten treasures, letters never read, photographs that tell stories lying dormant in the memory. Your mind and heart are doing the same thing now, disorganizing the established in order to discover what really matters. The questions that arise during these transitions are often more valuable than the immediate answers. When you ask yourself, does this still make sense to me? Or, why do I keep doing things this way? You are creating space for greater authenticity in your life. These are uncomfortable questions, yes, but they generate movement where there was stagnation before. Like a stone thrown into still water, they create waves that reach parts of you long forgotten. Have you ever noticed how relieved we feel when we finally name something we've been feeling? It's as if the simple act of recognizing, "I'm afraid," or "I'm dissatisfied," already lifts some of the weight. During these transitions, allowing yourself to name what you're feeling without judgment is an act of courage. You don't need to have all the answers or solutions. Just recognizing where you are is a significant step along the way. Our society values certainty and security so much that we end up seeing doubt as a flaw. But think of the great artists or scientists. It was precisely their doubts, their unsettling questions that led them to create and discover extraordinary things. This phase of questioning that you're going through is the fertile ground where new possibilities are being planted. Doubt is not your enemy, it can be your best ally right now. Have you ever noticed how we have scars that we don't even remember how we got? Small marks from wounds that once hurt, but are now part of our body's map. Emotional scars work in the same way. What seems unbearably painful today will eventually become part of your history. Not as an open wound, but as a mark that bears witness to your capacity for healing and transformation. Sometimes the biggest obstacle in times of change is the story we tell ourselves about who we are. I've always been like this. I've never been good at this. This isn't for people like me. These limiting narratives act as anchors that tie us to the past. But the truth is that you're constantly rewriting your story, whether you realize it or not. This moment is an opportunity to take on the role of conscious author of your own narrative. There is a subtle but profound difference between resisting change and discerning which change to embrace. Resistance comes from fear, while discernment comes from wisdom. When you can sit still with your doubts and listen beyond the noise of fear, something inside you knows which way to go. It's that soft voice that doesn't shout to be heard, but when you listen, it resonates with a truth that you recognize in the depths of your being. Noticing patterns of behavior that recur in your life can be one of the most valuable discoveries of this period. Like a detective piecing together clues, you begin to notice connections. Whenever I feel vulnerable, I isolate myself, or when I'm insecure, I try to control everything around me. Seeing these patterns not to judge yourself, but to understand with compassion the strategies you have developed to protect yourself, paves the way for more conscious choices in the future. The people around you may react in unexpected ways to your changes. Some will resist, not because they don't love you, but because your transformation confronts them with the possibility of changing too. Others will celebrate your new path, recognizing the courage it takes to question and transform. Both reactions say more about them than about you. Remember this when you feel misunderstood or when the loneliness of this journey seems too intense. The ancient navigators knew that they couldn't always control the wind, but they could always adjust their sails. During this crossing between the old and the new, much is beyond your control: external circumstances, other people's reactions, even certain emotions that arise unexpectedly. But the adjustment of the sails, how you respond, what meanings you assign, what new possibilities you are willing to explore, that will always be in your hands. There's a natural tendency to want to speed up the process when we're uncomfortable. We want to skip stages, get to the answer straight away, quickly establish a new normal. This haste often robs us of precious learnings that only come when we allow the process to unfold at its own pace. Like fruit that needs the right time to ripen, there are wisdoms that can only be harvested when they are ready, neither before nor after. Perhaps the most transformative discovery is realizing that you are much bigger than your circumstances. Not in the sense of ignoring or minimizing them, but in understanding that your essence, your value, and your possibilities are not defined by what happens to you, but by how you choose to relate to what happens. This realization doesn't come as a sudden illumination, but as a slow dawn, first a flash on the horizon, then gradually illuminating the entire landscape of your life. Knowledge without experience is like a map that you never use for traveling. Now that you've begun to better understand what's going on in your life, the next step is to live that understanding, not just as a concept, but as a lived experience. This doesn't mean big dramatic gestures or radical changes. In fact, it's the small moments of awareness in everyday life that build the bridge between understanding and transformation. Your body carries wisdom that your mind doesn't always access. When you feel confused about which path to take, Try asking your body. Breathe deeply and imagine each option. Notice how your body responds. Tension, heaviness, or discomfort can be signs of resistance. Expansion, lightness, or warmth often indicate alignment with your true path. Your body is not bound by the stories your mind tells. It responds directly to the truth of your experience. The balance between accepting where you are and moving towards where you want to be can be delicate. If you just accept without seeking movement, you can fall into resignation. If you just move without accepting your starting point, you create resistance and frustration. Imagine how a child learns to walk. There is total acceptance of where they are, crawling, combined with the natural impulse towards the next stage, standing. There is no conflict between the two. Acceptance and movement work together. Changing doesn't mean rejecting who you were. The new versions of you don't replace the previous ones, they include and expand them. Like rings on a tree, each phase of your life remains part of your story, contributing to who you are today. Honoring your past while embracing the future allows for a more integrated transition, where there are no parts of you being abandoned, just a continuous expansion of your being. There is power in naming your current experience, calling this period my transition, my time of discovery, or whatever term resonates with you. When we name something, we create an outline, a shape that helps us relate to what previously seemed amorphous and undefined. It's like finding the constellation in a sky full of stars. The stars have always been there, but now you can see the pattern, the shape, the meaning. Silence has become a rare luxury in our noisy world. Yet it is often in silence that we find the truest answers. Creating moments of stillness, whether it's 5 minutes in the morning, a walk without your mobile phone, or a cup of tea drunk in full awareness, gives your inner wisdom the space to manifest. Like cloudy water that clears when left to rest, your mind finds natural clarity when you allow moments of pause. What are you willing to let go of? This can be the most powerful question during times of transition. It's not just about physical objects, but beliefs, expectations, relationships, thought patterns. Each phase of life has its own ideal weight. Just as we wouldn't wear a heavy coat on a summer's day, there is emotional and mental baggage that served us in the past but now only burdens us on the new path. Paying attention to your dreams can offer valuable clues during this period. Before going to sleep, ask for clarity about your current transition. Keep a notebook next to your bed to record what arises when you wake up. Your dreams speak a language of symbols and emotions that go beyond the limitations of rational thought. They can reveal fears that you don't consciously recognize, or show possibilities that your conscious mind hasn't yet considered. Find people who are going through or have gone through similar transitions. Not to compare journeys or look for ready-made formulas, but to remember that you are not alone in this deeply human experience of transformation. Hearing how others have navigated their own turbulent waters can offer perspectives that you wouldn't consider on your own, as well as the comfort of knowing that others have felt as you do now. Allow yourself to be a learner again. One of the greatest difficulties in times of change is the feeling of incompetence that arises when we leave familiar territory. From being an expert, you're back to being a beginner in some area of life. There is a vulnerability in this, but also an extraordinary freedom. Beginners are allowed to make mistakes, to ask questions, to not know. There is a natural openness and curiosity when we embrace the apprentice stance. Celebrate small advances. In the fog of transition, it's easy to lose sight of how far we've come. Every insight, every small act of courage, every moment of clarity deserves to be recognized. Don't wait until you reach your final destination to celebrate. Honor every step of the way. Like a gardener who rejoices at the first green sprout that breaks through the soil long before the flower opens, allow yourself to recognize and appreciate the first signs of your new phase emerging. Trust in the process, even when you can't see the next step clearly. Life has its own intelligence, far beyond what our linear thinking can comprehend. Just as a seed contains all the code to become a full tree, without needing external instruction, you too carry within you the wisdom for this transformation. Your job is not to force or control the process, but to create the conditions for it to flourish naturally. Remember that there is no final destination on this journey. What seems like a destination today will be just another starting point tomorrow. Life is a continuous spiral of growth and transformation, not a straight line with a definite end. Each new chapter you start contains seeds of future chapters. There is a profound beauty in this continuity, in this incessant flow of becoming that is the very essence of life. This moment of transition that you are experiencing now, with all its doubts and possibilities, will be part of your personal history. One day you will look back and see how this period, which now seems so nebulous, was actually a gateway to a more authentic and expanded version of yourself. The questions that seem unanswerable today will become the stories you'll tell about how you found your way. The courage you show in facing the unknown deserves to be recognized. We don't always give ourselves credit for the bravery it takes to stay present when it would be easier to run away, to question when it would be more comfortable to accept, to change when it would be safer to stay the same. This courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the willingness to keep going even when you feel afraid. You already carry within you everything you need for this journey. Like a seed contains the potential of the whole tree, you already possess the essential qualities to navigate this transition. The wisdom you seek doesn't come from outside. It emerges from within when you create the space to listen to it. The moments of clarity you have already experienced are proof of this. They weren't given to you by external sources, but recognized by something in you that you already knew. There is a difference between illusory hope and rooted hope. The former denies reality and clings to fantasies. The latter recognizes the challenges of the present while keeping faith in the possibilities of the future. It's like the difference between waiting for a seed to grow without watering it, and watering it faithfully even without seeing the results yet. True hope isn't passive. It's an active commitment to the possibilities you help create. The cycles of nature teach us about constant renewal. The tree doesn't despair when it loses its leaves in autumn. There is an innate trust that new leaves will come in spring. The river doesn't fret when it encounters a rock in its path. It simply finds a new route to keep flowing. This elemental wisdom is also in you as part of the great cycle of life. Even when your mind doubts, your body and spirit know the path of renewal. The stories we love the most are those where the hero faces trials, doubts, moments of almost giving up before finding his way. These stories touch us because they reflect the truth of human experience. You are living your own heroic story right now, navigating the unknown, facing your fears, discovering inner resources you didn't know you had. It's not a linear journey, but one full of twists and turns that, in the end, prove essential to the development of the main character you. Allow yourself to be surprised along the way. We often cling so tightly to our expectations of how things should unfold that we miss out on the magic of the unexpected. Some of the most beautiful chapters in our lives were not planned, but arose from circumstances that, at the time, seemed like detours or obstacles. Keep your goals, but hold them with open hands, leaving room for life to offer possibilities beyond your current imagination. Be wary of any voice, internal or external, that insists you should have all the answers now, that you should know exactly where you're going or how to get there. The pressure for immediate clarity often comes from fear, not wisdom. True wisdom understands that there is a time for the fog, a time for the unanswered questions, a time to stand between what was and what will be. This time is not a mistake to be corrected, but a necessary phase to be honored. Human connection takes on a special significance during periods of transition. Look for people who can witness your journey without trying to correct or speed it up. Someone who can sit with you in the uncertainty, who doesn't try to fill your silence with easy answers, who respects the mystery of your unique unfolding. Sometimes all we need is someone who sees us completely where we are, without trying to take us somewhere else. Realize how different you already are from what you were when we started this conversation. Something subtle has changed, perhaps a new understanding has emerged, or an important question has formed, or you've simply allowed yourself to recognize more fully where you are on this journey. This capacity for continuous transformation is your essential nature. You are not a fixed statue, but a river in constant movement, always the same river, always new waters. And so, as you move towards the next moment in your life, take this truth with you. The chrysalis always breaks at the right time. Not before, not after. The transformation you are experiencing now has its own intelligence and chronology. Trust in this process even when you can't see it clearly. Because beyond the fog of uncertainty, beyond the discomfort of change, beyond the nostalgia for what was left behind, there is a horizon opening up, a new chapter in your story waiting to be written, in your own unique and irreplaceable handwriting in the great book of life.